The ancient history of Warhammer Fantasy isn't really well known by much of anybody. I would guess most people know about the tribes that founded the Empire, but almost nobody probably knows about the Remans. Starting off with the geography, Remus is situated on the mouth of the river Remo, and is very centrally located in Talea, presumably also between 6 or 8 hills or some other extremely similar but just different enough number. The founding myth of the Reman Empire goes that Myrmidia, seeing that all of the tribesmen of Talea were mentally damaged and incapable of building even mud huts to hide inside of from the rain, decided that this was all quite sad and manifested herself as an actual tangible woman, immediately taking control of the tribe of Tylos and leading them to found the city of Remus. Then, she convinced all of those barbarian tribes in not just Talea, but Estalia to follow her willingly and call her their queen. Then they all went and killed the enemies of men by the Gajillions and founded the Reman Empire. She was then poisoned by a dart, probably fired by a goblin or something, and died. According to scholars in the Warhammer world, this is the historical explanation of how it went down. And it's pretty retarded, as you can see, for many reasons, but let's try to make some sense of it. Worship of Myrmidia before this literally didn't exist. Remus was actually the first human kingdom in the world, so it's safe to assume that because of the way the warp works, Myrmidia wasn't actually a god made flesh. She was probably just a normal woman, or an elf. Allegedly, all allegations anyway, back to the sense thing. She was probably a normal woman who became chief of the tribe of Tylos, and probably through brutal warfare, sort of like the actual Romans, managed to conquer all of Talea, then all of Estalia, most likely in a very barbaric fashion, considering they were all tribesmen. She also taught the Remans about art, culture, advanced, elegant warfare, and other suspiciously elegant things. Allegations, never happened. Allegedly, ladies and gentlemen, allegedly Okay, dropping the meme, she was most likely an elf. Considering the Talaean tribesmen at the time were literal barbarians, and some random tribeswoman probably wouldn't have the political, strategic, or cultural knowledge to found such a massive empire. I doubt she was a real elven goddess though, like the Lady of the Lake, probably some kind of hippie. Yeah, but she was killed by a dart to the neck that fatally poisoned her. This is probably the Roman classic, as many historians might call it. That being some retard with grandiose delusions of greatness, killing the current emperor, or empress in this case, to seize power. There's a lot more detail in the more religious retelling of the story, but I don't trust it, and honestly my version is better. Reman history is pretty sparse, but something that isn't sparse is the story of glorious first citizen, back blowouter of barbarians, and knife receptacle, curious Gizar, my favorite Warhammer character. Actually, is it Gizar or Gazar? Probably Gizar. Gizar, by the time he staged an invasion of Albion, was already known far and wide as an unbeatable commander, having smashed the enemies of Remus 100 times over, and having never lost a single battle, with his massive veteran and well-equipped army being considered invincible. And then he came to Albion. Now, don't be alarmed, Gizar didn't lose. He landed on the shores of Albion and his army immediately started slaughtering the local bongs, massacring the barbarians by the millions. But once the sun set, they sort of realized that they were still at the beach. And the pile of dead giants and Brit bongs was starting to get so large that it was a little concerning. So Gizar, showing off his famous mercy and wisdom, allowed the barbarians to live if they let him enslave 5 of their giants, 3 small and 2 big. Naturally, being faced with either being wiped from history by Gizar's invincible and glorious legions, or giving up some of their giants, the druids naturally agreed, giving Gizar what he wanted so he would spare their puny lives. Returning to Remus with plans to show off the giants, gain more political power, then go back and slaughter the remaining bongs, Gizar was naturally met with the usual groveling and praise from the spineless senators. However, the worms had concocted in their minds another Roman classic, stabbing Gizar to death for the crime of being perfect. However, due to being stupid, weak incompetence, the senators managed to let the giant slaves immediately break free, them starting a rampage through the city and eventually the countryside, with all of the conspirators being trampled underfoot in the chaos. Very typical of incompetent usurpers. Anyway, it's described that the Reman Empire slowly decayed due to several threats crashing onto it over the 1,000 or so years it existed, combined with the fact that due to it being the first true mighty civilization, it didn't really have lots of succession laws, and civil wars were very common, sort of like the real Roman Empire. Another interesting tidbit, the Reman Empire and Sigmar's Empire coexisted for hundreds of years without a single war. However, one clearly outlasted the other as the Reman Empire collapsed around 1200 IC. Pretty good track record though, if you ask me. Well, not really collapsed. Remus is still around in the modern day of the setting. The city is still around in it, and the surrounding countryside, as well as much of Talea, is still populated by Remans. The city is also still independent, although it's a republic now due to the Great Talayan famines, and it also only really governs a coastal strip of Talaya rather than the grand swaths of territory it once ruled. Sad stuff, but you know, no star shines forever or something poetic like that. In conclusion, Rema Invicta. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, like the video, subscribe to the video, and comment on the video if you want to see videos similar to this one. See ya.
Tell you something that's sitting up on my mind. I can't give me a dime, I can't give me a dime. Oh man, I'm so mad that I can't get the bag. It's so sad. Everybody wanna take all of mine. Everybody wanna take all of mine. Hey, shorty tryna holler, she just want $1, and I don't even think that's enough. Should've robbed it for her love. Sick and I'm feeling kinda stuck. I know she'll want me when I'm coming up. Hey, then I'll
What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive? There is no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. Come, lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy.